Hi guys, it's Debbie. Today I'm back with a new video and I want to talk about a film by one of my favourite directors, Christopher Nolan, and that is the mind-blowing Inception. Now this is probably the most spoiler-packed video I've ever done, so definitely watch the film before watching this video. If you then don't understand what's going on in the film, just come back and I'll explain everything. Now the main theme in Inception is dreams. Picture this, I have a very valuable information. Nobody can get this information from me if I simply don't speak. I can easily conceal this information. But what if, let's say I am sleeping and I am dreaming, and somebody manages to enter my dream when my mind is completely open, get this information from me? That is exactly what happens in Inception. So Cobb, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Arthur, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, are what we call extractors. So basically they are spies which use this new military technology that allows people to enter other people's dreams and get information from these people. So it's a sort of espionage but in the dream world. Now Inception starts when Cobb and Arthur are performing this extraction on a Japanese businessman, Saito. So they entered his dream and they are trying to get some information. It turns out though that all this dream, all this extraction was actually set up by Saito, the businessman, in order to test Cobb and Arthur's abilities, because what he wants to do is offer them a new type of job. He wants to do the exact opposite of extraction, which is inception. Inception means planting in somebody's mind an idea, still throughout a dream. So basically they would enter the mind of another person and plant an idea in this person's mind. So what Saito wants to do, he wants to bring down his competitor's company. His competitor is Fisher, and basically he wants Cobb and Arthur to plant in Fisher's son and heir to the company the idea of breaking up his father's company. Now Inception is very, very complicated. You can't perform Inception in any dream. The dream has to be very, very long, very stable, so you have to be strongly sedated, and to plant an idea even more firmly in a person's mind, it will happen on different levels, so a dream within a dream. For example, when you fall asleep and then while you're dreaming you fall asleep again and you enter another, say, world, that's basically what is going to happen. They're going to create different levels of dreams to plant this idea right into Fisher's mind, to get it as much as possible stuck in his mind. So it has to be a very stable dream, a very long dream. Another problem we have both in extraction and inception is that the mind can start to realise that something strange has gone on, and everybody in the dream, so all the characters in the dream, all these projections, will start turning on you and fighting back to get rid of you, to get rid of the problem, let's say, of the glitch in your dream. Have you ever had that feeling when you're dreaming and suddenly you realise something's wrong? You're like, wait, that's weird, that shouldn't happen. It's like white blood cells that are fighting off a virus. Another problem with this type of dream is that you can't simply die in the dream to wake up. Often when you're dreaming and you want to get out of a situation, if you die, you simply wake up. That doesn't happen in this type of dreams because you might be 3 levels down, and if you die there, you will never come back. You will stay stuck in a sort of limbo where it's hard to tell between truth and dream. And this is what happened to Cobb, so Leonardo DiCaprio, and his wife, Marion Cotillard, where basically they entered this type of really deep dream, and as time passes differently in a dream, so what could be a couple of hours in real life can be years in a dream, they spent a lot of time in this shared dream, down in this limbo, building a world completely from their memories, from their mind, but they started to lose track on what was reality and what was dream. So when it was time to wake up and come back to reality, Mal, Cobb's wife, couldn't understand what was truth and what was not, and she killed herself, and Cobb was accused of her murder. A way to know whether you are dreaming or whether you're awake is to create a totem, which is a small object which works only for you and which tells you whether you are dreaming or not. In Cobb's case, he has a top which he spins, and if it keeps on spinning constantly without falling, he knows he's dreaming. If the top falls over, that means he knows he is awake. So in addition to all these problems, Cobb's wife, Mal, also haunts him in his dreams, and so she might also appear and distract him from his mission. Regardless of all these problems, Cobb accepts the mission because Saito promises him he will have his murder charge removed, and also he will be able to see his children, which he hasn't been able to see for years. So Cobb assembles his team team, highly skilled people. So we have Eames, which is a very skilled identity forger. So basically throughout the dreams he can assume different identities. He can look like a completely different person. Then we have a Yusuf, a chemist, who will make a very powerful sedative to keep everybody asleep throughout a very, very, very long dream without being disturbed by outside factors. Then we have Ariadne, which basically is the architect. She will create everything we see in the dream. So the cities, the landscapes, everything is created by her. Saito, businessman, also joins in on the mission to assure himself of the success of the team. When Fisher Sr. dies, the son, so the heir to the company, brings his body on a 10-hour flight back to Los Angeles. The team takes this opportunity to have this really long dream throughout the whole flight. So they sort of abduct him and sedate him while he's on this flight, and they all enter his dream. Now basically the multiple dreaming world works that the whole team enter one dream, then at a certain point somebody will stay behind and the rest of the team will fall asleep and enter another level. In this other level, one person will stay behind and the rest of the team will enter a third level. The people stay behind because at one certain point they will have to bring everybody back. At a certain point when the flight is about to land, they'll all have to wake up. So they have to complete their mission in time. And they're going to wake up with something called a kick. A kick is that feeling you have throughout your sleep of falling and you suddenly wake up like, oh my god, I was falling. They are going to recreate this feeling throughout the levels with, let's say, explosions or free fall, and they'll have to do it at the same time in the different levels. So in the first level there'll be free fall with a van, in the second level there'll be an explosion, in the third level there'll be another explosion which will make the people have that feeling of falling, and they'll all wake up from the levels to the first level and they'll wake up on the plane. So the team sets off, they enter the first level of dreaming. The first level of dreaming is a rainy city and it's Yusuf's dream. In addition to all the problems that could happen, as soon as they enter Fisher's dream, they realise he's been highly trained to defend his mind from this type of attack, so from Inception Extraction. Every single person in the dream, in Fisher's mind, fights back against them, and they can't die, because if they die they'll be stuck there in the limbo and they won't be able to wake up. So they're all quickly loaded into a van. Yusuf stays awake, driving the van, trying to get away from these people fighting back, and the rest of the team falls asleep and enters the second level of dreaming. The second level of dreaming is Arthur's dream, in which the team starts to interact with Fisher. Cobb lies to him, saying that Fisher's godfather is planning something against him. He's trying to bring him down. So Cobb suggests to Fisher to enter a dream in order to discover what his godfather is planning. It is just an excuse though to enter even more into Fisher's subconscious. So Arthur stays behind and they enter the third level of dreaming. So the third level of dreaming in which they enter is this snowy fortress in which Fisher's mind is fighting even more back against them because they are so close to planting the idea. The problem here is that Mal, Cobb's wife, appears and shoots Fisher. Fisher immediately enters into limbo because he dies. Saito is also injured by some of the people in Fisher's mind and also enters limbo. Cobb manages to kill Mal and she also enters into limbo. Cobb and Ariadne decide to enter limbo themselves as well to get everybody back before the kick starts. Problem is, in the first level, Yusuf can't keep off these people fight anymore. He just can't manage. So he drives the van off a bridge and the feeling of freefall starts. And this means the kick is initiated too quickly. So the van starts to fall. In the second level, there's suddenly that feeling of freefall. And so there's no more gravity. Everybody is floating around. So Arthur has to quickly arrange a new type of kick by putting explosives on a lift. He too initiates the kick, and the explosion has effects in the third level, so where the snow is, creating an avalanche. So the kick is initiated too fast. The people are already feeling that movement that's going to wake them up. So they have to complete the mission very quickly. Cobb and Ariadne enter limbo, find Fisher. Ariadne brings Fisher back into the level before, and Cobb stays behind to find Saito. The idea is finally planted into Fisher's mind to bring down his father's company. The kick works, so all through all the levels, avalanche, explosion in the lift, fan falling off the bridge, and they all wake up back on the plane. Fisher has no idea that all of this has gone on. He just simply wakes up, but he has the idea now of breaking his father's company. Cobb easily passes through security because he doesn't have his murder charge anymore, and he goes to see his children. Just before he turns around to see his children though, he spins his top and the film cuts to black, so the film ends just before the top falls over. So we see it slightly wobbling, but it doesn't actually fall over. Is Cobb still stuck in limbo? Because we don't actually see him ever finding Saito. We do see him finding him because we do see him talking to him, but we don't ever see them coming back from limbo. In the script of Inception, the top is still spinning and we cut to black. Christopher Nolan said that the meaning of the film is not whether Cobb is still dreaming or he's not dreaming. He said the important thing is that Cobb has managed to finally put all this behind him and go and see his children. Whether in a dream or not, he is finally happy. Let me know what your thought about Inception, what your interpretation of the ending is, whether you think Cobb is still dreaming or he's still awake. And I'll see you in a new video. Bye!